Hello and welcome to our live stream of Curse of Strahd as presented by For the Love of Crits. I'm level 1 Dungeon Master Hunter AU. Thank you for joining us as we continue with our Lost Clerics of Barovia as they journey deeper into the mist. For maps, we are using Tailspire, new early access program available on Steam. For music, I'm using Sirenscape, an online program that allows us to sync our audio so we can all enjoy the same soundscapes in unison. In this world for Tailspire maps, I am using a mix of different sources online, but the lion's share is coming from a creator called Demon Gund, who focuses on Tailspire maps on focusing on Curse of Strahd. For uh, for tonight, we are going to have a small prompt. Let's see. Does anyone have that pulled up currently? I just realized I didn't have it in my notes.
Two personality traits that would stand out to someone who meets you.
Yes, so we are going to do two personality traits that would stand out when these player characters meet someone that in a short conversation they would immediately know kind of these two things. Tonight, because Cole's going to be doing the recap, we're actually going to start with him. Josh, you'll be on deck.
I'm doing the prompt first and then the recap
Yes.
after. Okay. Uh, Definitely the first and foremost thing that would stand out for anyone meeting Konareth is that they would either assume that he is a mute, is very reserved, or if he chooses to talk to them, it would stand out that he does not use his voice to speak. He only speaks telepathically. That's usually kind of a standout for people that meet him. The other would be the reserved nature of his character. He's very milquetoast, a blank slate whenever he orders food. It's like, just give me bread and water and nothing on it. So there's nothing, despite how intense his features might look, despite how intense the telepathy might be, he is personality wise not a assertive character at all. So
Hey, Josh. Alex, you're on deck.
Hey guys, name's Josh. I play at Onyx, and two personality traits. First, meet Onyx that are gonna really strike you as odd is first, being a robot is gonna be odd to begin with. Um, he's a little untrusting and usually not very talkative. Unless he gets to know people, um, or if he's fishing for information. Um, as if you watched previous episodes, you might have seen a nice encounter with him and a poor barkeep that really frustrated him. Um, Second trait, besides being kind of standoffish and not trusting, is he currently doesn't show much emotion. Being a robot, he's, well, I can't say robot, but Warforged. Being Warforged, he's missing some of that human element. So he doesn't necessarily get the same feelings as other people. So what may strike somebody as really heart-wrenching or something, Onyx looks for the logical side of things. So may be hard to connect with them.
Mm-mm. All right, Alex.
Hello, Alex here, Barotheus Online, and I play Herbert, Lightforged. Um, the two most striking things about Herbert, personality-wise, obviously, other than his getup, is probably that he has a hard time butting into conversations or finding his place in a conversation. So he apologizes a lot for interrupting people. But sometimes, like when he just gets going, he just doesn't stop talking. The other thing is that, I mean, he has these little devices that he's built that he sort of like tucks away in his pocket usually, but his hand will go to them when he's trying to have a conversation. So you may hear some clicks and whirs and some interesting sounds while talking to him. That's Herbert.
Okay. And for Garion, you are next. And then
Yeah,
Cole, you're on deck to do recap.
Yeah, Grand Mage Garion, playing Graves. First of all, apologies. I'm sick this week, so excuse any coughing that I don't manage to mute, but I will do my best. But to my actual answer to the question, yes, Graves. I think what is almost like opposite to what Cole was saying for Coderth, how he's very kind of like plain and bland, almost not meant, but Graves is reverse. Like he has almost like you'd expect him to be almost more simple and such, almost in some ways. Like, I mean, he kind of has almost like a goth kind of look. He's all black, he's pale, he's got like the black eyeliner, but then he's actually like fairly happy-go-lucky most of the time. Just kind of in contrast to how he looks usually. And then Graves also enjoys sort of playing devil's advocate or defending people's creative choices, especially unless it comes to matters of life or death. He ain't gonna joke around about that. Undead gonna die. But like the example that comes to mind is when we got to the Nightmare Stable, whatever it was called back in episode 1, the inn, and Onyx is like, this doesn't make any sense for a stable name, and Graves is like, well, you know, Nightmare like the horse, like the demon horse, whatever, and like inn's gotta have weird names in order to attract people. So he just likes to kind of play devil's advocate there a little bit. And yeah,
looking at the bright side in everything.
except for undead. He's very serious about that.
You must be the
Myself.
last undead.
Before we go through our recap, just as a reminder, the content of Curse of Strahd, which was created by Wizards of the Coast, is notorious for being a campaign with exceptionally dark genres. This program is intended for mature audiences, as we use adult languages and themes. Viewer discretion is advised. We do thank you again all for joining, as we ask to keep the chat civil, keep the comments from avoiding spoilers for Wizards of the Coast. We're now going to be going through a recap, and please, for the love of crits, like, comment, and subscribe.
Making camp where they can, our heroes attempt to regain their strength after their brutal battle against the giant hounds beset on them by the enigmatic Strahd. When afforded the opportunity, Coderth kneels near the edge of camp, gripping his amulet depicting a pair of eyes surrounded by 7 stars, and begins his evening prayers. Selûne. Path to all those who wander, Our Lady Silver, our Moon Maiden. Like the owls of the night, you slip silently over us to ensnare those obstacles which would deter us. Like the moons above us, you shed light in the dead of night to guide our path. You hold the knowledge of the ages, you preserve our lives, and grant us sanctuary in this bleak twilight. I must confess I was filled with so much anger again. This place, Barovia, it gnaws at my soul. The creatures are horrid beasts, the people are broken, the land, well, he is the land. I didn't understand what that meant before tonight. Seeing him, or at least seeing him from the corner of my eye. I wanted to study him, gain some insight into what kind of man would bring so many to their knees. But I felt his power the moment we saw that carriage. Just the way he carried himself spoke volumes of his untouchable power. At first I didn't look at him out of fear. I offered prayers to you in hopes that you would shine down your light and pull us out of this horrid place and as far from him as possible, but I doubted. I saw Tatiana, rigid, with her eyes cast intently on the ground, and your silence was deafening. This key, some force resides in it, or around it. I don't know to what I call but it has answered me. The time before in the cellar and tonight. Anyway, the others were drawn in by Strahd. He charmed them somehow. Drank their blood. Being charmed is the only explanation. With Graves' extreme prejudice for the undead, there's no other possibility. Only Tatiana and I were spared. He gave me an option. Because I'd already come to accept this land? Far from it. I could never. It makes my skin crawl to think that I could be pulled in and made a feature of this depressing land. I fear what he knows that I don't. After he left us and sicked those horrid hounds on us, I didn't think he had intended to kill us. I thought he saw us as defenders of Tatiana, who he holds some warped affection for. But there was no restraint. I fear if I had not lost my temperance, and were it not for that shade stretching out from me and striking on its own accord, we would have lost the battle. It's hard to tell what permanence death holds in this place, but I don't seek it. Onyx stepped back from Tatiana in the battle. It was a calculated move, I'm certain, but I'm still glad that Graves stepped in to take his place. Though not armored, she's clearly struggling out here. It took everything I had to win this battle. We nearly lost Herbert. And Graves this time. I fear I'm letting this land turn me wrathful. It's already broken me. I try to renew my faith and my focus on the path ahead, but a fire burns inside me that wants to destroy this land. The same fires I witnessed when I was young. Perhaps this shade who answers my prayers to this key is an embodiment of that rage which resides within me. I can't be without it, though. We need every advantage in this land. And I fear you cannot reach us out here. Let your moonlight fall on our path, encircle us in your deep silver, and may the wax and wane of our wandering be in step with your mysterious power. Amen.
When we last left our clerics in Barovia, it was right after they'd had a very difficult battle with 6 dire wolves left by Strahd von Zarevich himself. Going to bring us back to that area. As you fire the magic bolt at the last direwolf running away, kills it. Irina is standing there. She's looking around. She is, for lack of a better way to say it, paranoid. Point to your sword, looking around at the different trees. You hear nothing but the silence of the insects. The black carriage has left long ago, before the wolves had even attacked. And the sun, or the light you should say, has now gone down, and it leaves you in the shade of the trees. Irina continuing to point her sword at the shadows of the trees, watching for an oncoming attack.
Remind me again.
Mm-hmm.
This is this a road?
That is a road.
That
There
goes
are 2
this-
roads here. There's this road and this road. This road
one's to
goes up
Castle
into the
Ravenloft.
mountains towards Castle Ravenloft. And you know this road is continuing the Zvalich roads.
Graves will stand himself up, and kind of just like walk over to the side, over towards this tree, and then he'll just kind of do like a heavy breath, and then he'll like slam his fist into the tree as hard as he can, and just be like, "Damn it!" And then just begin like muttering under his breath.
Say, as the battle sort of concludes here, like my spiritual weapon, um, instead of just dissipating, it sort of falls and thuds and like sort of slides along the ground and sort of hisses and turns cold and then dissipates into nothing. And Herbert, his shoulders, like it's hard to tell in his armor, but his shoulders are slumped and he is he's in shock, I would say.
Onyx will approach her. Are you okay? Took quite the hit, and you were down for a bit.
Yeah, uh, um, sorry. It's just everything was there was so much happening, and then now there's nothing, and it's this, and he just sort of stammers, like he can't even make sentences. It
Well,
was- We failed. We just
did we though?
he's toying with us. This is not the end. This
No, this is but a battle in a very large war. But we did come out of this victorious. We are not dead. Irina is still with us. All of us are still standing. This was a battle. We won. The war is far from decided. But now we have a taste of what we're up against, and can start preparing.
and so Herbert sort of he's listening and taking all that in. And he just sort of clutches his chest where the key is underneath his coat. And he says, "All right, well, what next then? I mean, we can just go to Vallaki, yes?"
I agree. I think the sooner we get Irina where she needs to go, the better, so that we can focus on what's coming.
And
Irina,
he's
bring,
fidgeting and
yeah.
he's he like this whole time he's just like scratching at his neck. But like there's I don't know if there's a scar there or not. Um
You have it's still a wound. Like it's not scarred
yeah,
over
yeah.
completely. Like it's like a day old wound at this point from your rest. But
Yeah.
and you guys would all I'm guessing it looks like Konerith is attempting to um is attempting to talk to Irina. You guys would notice as you were talking about Irina, she is kind of like pointing her sword almost in like a fencing stance, like both hands on it, and almost turning towards like every broken twig that she hears.
Nerth slowly walks up to her, making sure that he's within her eyesight when he does, and just reaches out his hand and puts it on her arm to kind of like lower her hands down. It's all right, Ari. They're gone for now.
She, when you first get in her eyesight, she kind of starts to turn towards you and then sees it's you. You kind of lower her hands down and her blade tip goes into the ground. And she just sits there, her head falls down. Tears start pouring down her face. And she just falls to her knees and she's sobbing.
Conareth takes off his cloak and just kind of drapes it over her where she is, and then just stands there with his hand on her shoulder, kind of waiting to see when the others will rally. So.
Alright. You guys would see this. Graves, yes, that is a yes to you. Roll me either religion or arcana.
You can dispel my spiritual weapon too,
Okay.
if you want.
I'm also
And
gonna
it'd be a DC 15.
Yeah, I'm gonna add my knowledge of from past life to this as well.
Oh, yeah. I'll give you a D6 to add to that. It's not needed, but
I mean,
I don't know what's your knowledge of past life? How does that work?
I add a D6.
Oh, okay.
yeah, he's got a certain number of times that he can add that d6.
That's right. It's not like a
Ooh,
Wait,
fun.
right, I muted. Yeah, that's a 23.
That's
23.
pretty good.
Yeah, you are successful. I assuming that whatever kind of information you discover, are you going to be sharing with the party, or this be something that you're just kind of keeping to yourself?
For now, keeping to himself, depending upon what the information is. Depending
Okay.
upon what he believes.
Let's see. I will message it to you then.
Excellent.
Have we
So
established that we know about like vampire lore? I think we know very little. Yes.
you do know very little.
Yeah.
Hence why I use my knowledge of a past life, because that kind of like overrules that. Because I'm like, well, what is my previous life before? No.
Yeah.
And from what I've gathered about my previous life, I think it makes sense that they would know about it.
I think so. But Herbert would sort of, hearing Onyx's words, steel himself and look over towards Graves and Conareth and see that Irina is disheveled and crying, and I mean, should we wait for a bit, or just he's I don't know. I feel like if we tarry, he's going to nip at our heels.
You
I
should
don't know.
probably rest. You don't look like you're doing too well. I don't imagine Graves is either.
Graves does not look good. Graves looks really bad.
I actually
Conareth?
feel okay.
Yeah, you actually would you'd probably start saying that and then look at Herbert and be like, actually, he looks fine. Like, he looks chipper and like he hasn't been walking a full days.
my
Compared-
clothing, like there's big blood splatters all over my like armor, like just like it's almost drenched in like blood because like his throat was ripped out, but there he is with his fully functioning esophagus. Or
Then
It'd be one of
Graves-
those like medical situations where the doctor's looking at you and they're like, well, I'm sure that you have this, but I have no evidence to prove it. It's like, you can't be feeling good. You look fine, but you can't be feeling good.
I'm not
Graves
feeling
by-
great.
Yeah, Graves by comparison has like he's like bleeding and bloody, and like his face is probably like sunken in, like his cheeks are like hollow and such because he had like light, like his hit point maximum has been drained. So like he probably looks much more like an undead than he would like.
Yes, I mean, I think we should rest, but like right here, I mean, it's right at the road to his castle. Seems unwise.
We could go a bit farther down. We could step into the forest. I mean,
Yeah, I think we
I
should.
imagine
yeah, we should move
the most
away.
dangerous thing we were going to encounter is what we just have.
Graves will at this point like stop his angry muttering at the tree and kind of come back and like, he was toying with us. He's already proved his point. I don't think there's anything for him to gain by playing with us more immediately after. He'll leave us alone for now. Graves also, besides looking in very not good shape, Graves already today didn't seem to be in a good mood. He looks like he wants to kill the fucking world right now. He is not happy.
She's still crouched down, sobbing.
Onyx would assume that the crying is because she's hurt. So he'd be coming over and just like trying to look for wounds. Not that she's freaked out or anything. Just
When you say look for wounds, are you like observing, like, are you feeling for wounds, or are you looking, like actually looking for wounds?
I'd just be looking.
Okay.
She scares me right now.
Be a little bit harder now because she's cloaked.
Yep.
So that temporary
Roll me a
ones,
perception check. Or investigation. Well, do perception because you're not actually like
Right. I'm not
investigating.
right.
Okay. Looking at it, you don't see any blood coming from her. You do see like blood spattered on her clothing, probably from the dire wolves, but nothing that looks like it's coming from her body.
Okay. Onyx just shrugs his shoulders and moves on.
I feel like the highest charisma character is Graves, but Graves is not in a mood right now to deal with any shit. He's like, nope, nope, nope.
Nope.
Herbert doesn't feel like he has any legs to stand on with Irina here at the moment, considering what just happened with Strahd and how he was like taken over or manipulated. But he is also terrified of what will happen if we stay here. So he is going to try to convince Irina that we should, at the very least, move away and
Okay.
rest somewhere.
How do you kind of approach the subject with her?
Listen, his house is like right there. We just we gotta go. Like we just I'm sorry. I don't know how to say this. He's not a high charisma character.
Panera jumps in at this point. It's just his hand still on her shoulder. Oh, come, Irina. You need rest. We all need rest. Let's get away from this terrible place.
Okay. So roll me a charisma check at advantage, Herbert, because Gonareth jumped in to help.
Well, let's see. Persuasion, technically, is
Yeah.
+1. I don't have the extension enabled at the moment, so that's a 6.
All right, and
With
you can roll
advantage,
once
right?
more.
Oh,
Yep.
right. Yes.
Come on, higher than 5.
That is a natural
Ooh,
20.
yes.
That is a bit higher than
You-
5.
Yeah.
You mentioned it was nothing I said. It was just his house is just over there, right? Okay.
Looking,
Fear.
probably looking right at us.
Just looking out his
Okay.
window. Yeah.
We did not get a short rest, correct?
You have not. No.
Not
This
since
is
the battle.
literally the
aftermath.
dire wolf. It's been like the time of our conversations, pretty much
But-
since the dire wolves had died.
Couple minutes.
So very recent, less than 10 minutes. So Irina, hearing this, she is still kind of sobbing, but she kind of like is breathing in, almost hyperventilating, trying to get like her breathing in under control. And she does start to and she
Count to 4. That's the rule. It's you breathe out for 4, you hold it for 4, you breathe in for 4, and you hold it for 4.
and she does start kind of like listening. She stands up. She is clutching Konereth's cloak around her. She's still shaking, but she is standing, and she kind of nods to you. She's like, "You're right. We need to go.
Well,
So
yeah,
you've
it's
got
so undefensible.
The closer to Valaki, the better."
yes. Let's make haste.
We don't want
Listen,
to take ourselves too far. We need to recoup, but certainly don't want to rest right here.
The gates aren't far.
yes, let's get past the gates.
Okay. That being said, this is going to be a familiar map for you guys, I believe.
Oh, very similar.
Once everyone starts going as well, Graves takes an extra 30 or seconds or so before he begins following everybody else, just absolutely glaring with like pure hatred at Castle Ravenloft before slowly following the group behind them.
You're going to see your pieces disappearing. It's okay, though.
While Onyx was waiting for everybody to catch their emotions, he just kind of scratched in the stone pebbles leading to Castle Ravenloft. Asshole lives here. Yeah, this looks slightly familiar.
So, might help if I move you guys to the right side of it. Hold on a moment. You're going to be moving.
Oh, there's water on that side.
It's the transmission.
Whoa!
There we go. So, as you guys are walking along the road, you see in the distance a familiar sight. Fog spills out of the forest to swallow up the road behind you. Ahead, you see jutting from the impenetrable woods on both sides of the road, high stone buttresses looming gray in the fog. Huge iron gates hang on the stonework. Dew clings with cold tenacity to the rusted bars, and two headless statues of armed guards flank the gate, their heads now lying among the weeds at their feet. They greet you only with silence.
You occasionally hear like a bell ding. It's like softly muffled. Herbert is fidgeting in his pocket.
Gonna have to be making sure that he's keeping close to Irina at this point, just to give her someone to kind of like help her feel like she's got people right around her.
Herbert's kind of walking with a bit of purpose towards the front a bit. Maybe with a little bit too much haste. Not really like going ahead of the party or anything like that, but like he's anxious. So he's sort of
As you
chomping at the bit.
Graves is like the opposite of Herbert. Like he's almost lagging too far behind, and then noticing they're kind of getting ahead and catching up, and then getting a little bit behind again.
as you guys are approaching these gates, you can tell that these are built of the same design as the previous gate you saw, but it is not the same exact gate. So you don't believe that you have circled around in Barovia and are now coming along the road that led you to the Death House. Instead, this looks like it's just duplicate gates.
Were these statues on the inside of the gate when we came into Barovia as well as the outside?
I
Was there a
believe
set on inside and out?
That's a good question that I do not have a good answer for. Let me see. I believe they are. No, they were only on the outside of the gate.
It seems right.
As you approach, you hear once again the creak as the gates open as you are approaching.
I wonder.
Just go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought.
Pretty much the whole gate opens. It's not just like a lower portion. It's these large rusted iron gates, and they kind of screech as they are opening, the screeching echoing throughout the fog, making the silence abounding even deeper.
I would probably wait for Graves to catch up and point to the guardians of the gate. And I I noticed these when we came in, Barovia. I figured they were there to guard Barovia. But if we're going further in, why are they on the inside?
I see what you mean. Perhaps they were to the other road to have to almost snare people into Barovia, and here to keep them close to Strahd, keep them inside. Who knows?
But the gate opened on its own. Not like we are trapped here.
True.
Irina would kind of, at this point, enough time has passed that she's kind of caught her breath. She's walking along with you, and she would kind of look over and be like, "My father told me that these gates preceded Strahd,
Hmm.
but I don't believe they were built at the same time. I think one was built after the lands expanded."
Fair assumption.
I would just go over and check out the statue itself.
Gates closed. You're on your own. No. Yeah. So, go ahead. What are you kind of looking for? Are you looking for?
Just
Uh.
inspecting it, is it like one big piece of stone? What could I see it maybe being a construct at one time?
Ooh. Let me take a look.
Definitely a fair thing to wonder about. As
Roll me.
With my
Uh.
background
What is? Oh wait.
as a
Okay. You were saying like with the
warforged.
construct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Let's see.
Like if the gates were built one after another too, almost makes sense. Like originally this was like when you were going in and then they added the other one, so that
So
makes sense.
as you look at it, it does appear that it had been carved. The leg at least was carved from one piece of stone. Um, but it looks like the separate components, like the sword, the other parts of the body, are other large separate pieces of stone. So it wasn't like it's not like a whole bunch of small pieces like brick laid for it, but also wasn't all carved from a piece of stone.
Gotcha.
Based on looking at it, they look like they've been there a while. You don't believe at any point that they had walked.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Well, we
Yeah, Graves
continue
would
down,
wait like at the precipice of the gate for Onyx. He wouldn't like say anything, but he would wait for Onyx before passing through.
Aye. You pass through. It does not immediately slam behind you like the previous gates did. These ones kind of stay open.
Kind of stay open or stay open.
They do stay open.
kind of. One of them closes.
This is kind of stay open. What do you mean?
Like
It's a
they
jar.
stay open a couple inches, so you could pry it open if you need to. But
But no, they stay open.
Well, I suppose we should start looking for some place to rest for a bit.
Irina kind
Right
of
in.
nods. She's like, can we go a bit further away from the gates?
Oh yes, certainly.
Graves
We
is
should
about
walk
to
for-
suggest waiting right here because we could use the wall as a barrier. But
Yeah,
like, let's keep going. And it's
Gunnar
like,
is going to say the
okay.
exact same thing.
Yeah,
This
but
is
it is
your
like, let's keep
defensible
going.
position.
Okay, guess not.
I mean, tactically, yes.
Irina.
Probably a good idea, but
Yeah,
Does Strahd come this far?
I don't know. He travels where he wants. I've heard that there's a vampire hunter that is near Valaki, which might be holding him at bay. But I don't know if the rumors are true or not.
Graves would immediately perk up at that, and be like, vampire.
Yes,
I think that's someone that we might want to find.
I think his name was
Van Richten.
Dr. Van Richten.
Can't say I've ever heard of him, but I may know some about undead, but vampires aren't my specialty. So I think we
Well,
should look for this Van Richten once we reach Valaki.
some people mentioned it that came from Valaki because they don't know who he is, they just have heard rumors that he's around, which gives people more willingness to travel, which is one of the reasons we wanted to travel at this time, but
That's fair, but yes, I think that it may not necessarily be top priority, but I think that he is someone that we should keep an eye out for, potentially seek out if we have the opportunity.
We should
Definitely
forge
sounds
on
like
much farther before camping.
definitely sounds like a useful ally.
okay. I'm fast forwarding you guys to the campsite. Go. We assume that you guys would be traveling a decent distance away from it. As you go along, Irina hands the cloak back to Konerith, like they've been traveling for a while, and she's like, "Thank you." Let's see. You guys are able to set up camp. Typically, I know that Graves and Onyx will typically keep watch. But when you guys are resting down, is there any conversations that is being had before you go to bed?
One thing I wanted to do real quick. When it looks like Irina's going to try to go to sleep, Conarith goes up to her. You're no doubt probably still startled from the events and our uncomfortable position. Would you like help sleeping?
She looks at you confused, like in a confused manner. as she's not entirely sure your intentions.
If there was any intuition on her end, it would be very obviously nothing
Okay.
unseemly that he intends.
What do you mean?
Um, well, I have a spell that assists with sleeping. I know it's probably going to be hard to sleep through the night solid. Any sounds can startle and wake you.
She shakes her head. She's like, I am at the point that I want any sounds to wake me. I have been put under the spells of the devil himself too many times for my liking, and I don't want to even willingly have that happen again.
Fair enough.
Onyx, are you laying down?
Setting up camp, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know, because usually you.
You keep watch.
I know.
Eventually, once everyone else is pretty much asleep and such, and Graves and Onyx are pretty much the only ones left, Graves would kind of like motion for Onyx to come over slightly away from the camp for a moment over this area by a tree. Like, Onyx.
There's no sit down, so
Right? Yeah. I am fairly certain, nearly positive, that there is no real danger of this. And he kind of just like motions to the vampire bite. But I still am paranoid, to say the least. But all of my training tells me that I'm fine. But just in case, he kind of pulls out like a chain and kind of like wraps it around the tree, and then like manacles the chain together into his hand, and he'll just hand the key to Onyx, like, just in case. I sincerely suspect it's fine, but I would rather be safe.
you know he bit me too.
Yes. Over.
As well as her.
Herbert had that experience. I say keep an eye on him, just in case, but I think whatever brought him back, as it did me and Konerv, might have prevented it if something were to happen. I'm also unsure if someone like you could even be turned into an undead. But as I say, I'm fairly certain that nothing could. But it would make me feel better.
I will take the key. And don't blame me when you're sore in the morning because your swinging arm hurts. And he just like shrugs and walks away.
Grace will just then sit down tree. He's chained to it, like he can like move a foot or so from the tree, but like his arm is still like chained to the tree. He'll just kind of sit down and begin his like evening meditations of trying to remember things while staying on watch.
Hmm.
Still just looking not quite as angry, but like his eyes still just look like he's disappointed.
This is Onyx, by the way.
I think Herbert would just go to sleep. Maybe find something to distract himself by leafing through Rose's spellbook. And just try to make sense of the arcane sigils and formulas and stuff like that. Try to see if you can make any sort of sense or semblance out of it. But probably fall asleep, seeing Onyx and Graves take up positions, feeling safe. At least a bit.
Hmm.
Aaron's gonna go do the evening prayers that he did in the intro, and then go to bed.
Okay. I need Onyx and Graves to roll me perception checks. Okay.
Pretty average.
Yeah,
So
pretty average.
15, 14, 15? Okay. So we're going to go through your guys' evening first, and then we'll go through Conereth and and Herbert's evening.
Oh.
Onyx,
That's not worrisome at all.
you walk away from having Graves lock himself up, and you prepare to kind of sit in your sentinel position. You hear throughout the night owls, crows. You hear distant wolves, but nothing close. Overall, as you're kind of watching, you don't see anything of note or hear anything of note that concerns you throughout the night.
Okay.
Graves, you were also kind of watching around, but you were also trying to kind of meditate on your past lives, correct?
Yeah.
Alright, so
I think it would technically be like it was just last night that we were at the Burgermeister. So it was just last night that he had the memory vision of the other person.
you are meditating, and you know that there's some points where you're having thoughts, everything like that, and when you have a vision, it's almost like a light flipping on and off. It's very instant. You know that you're in a vision. You don't really have much control over it, but you kind of are aware of what's going on and that it is something of the past. As you're sitting there, you, with your eyes closed, you suddenly open your eyes and you find yourself standing in a room that is completely surrounded by mirrors. You're
I don't
looking
like
around. What?
The Grays don't like that.
So you're looking around, and as you're kind of glancing around, you see in the mirrors your own reflection. This one that you have been recognizing, or that you've been seeing in the mirrors, but that you haven't been, that you aren't entirely sure who it is, that is staring back at you. You aren't sure what caused you to end up in this room surrounded by mirrors, and you're glancing around trying to find an exit. Everywhere you look appears to almost reflect onto a different mirror. As you turn around, you suddenly realize you are not alone in the room, despite all of the reflections around you. And you see standing next to you Strahd von Zarovich, his hand around your shoulder. You see his claws kind of tapping on your shoulder guard. He turns to you, and you see his mouth open, fangs baring. And as he lunges towards you, you awaken, pulling against the chain. And you're back in the forest.
Yeah, Graves would probably like lurch pretty violently. So like if Onyx watched that,
Onyx would
he'd probably
likely
see, like,
would likely see you do
like
that.
Graves like lurch, look around, and just like look down. He's just like clenching his fist, and he's just like pulling his arm away from the tree, and like blood begins to trickle out of it. And he's like, and then he'll just kind of like put it down and kind of just like slump back down onto the ground with his other hand, just begin like rubbing his forehead, just like shaking and just muttering under his breath again as blood's just like dripping from his other hand. Also, question.
Mm-hmm.
I've been seeing the other face in the mirror since like before the start or whatever, and I just saw it here as such, but I actually don't know what that face looks like. Do you happen to have a description of what that face or that person looks like?
Yes, I can get one for you.
Cool. Just because
Um,
I don't know if it's specifically important or anything, but I'm like, I actually don't know what the face Grave Seeds looks like.
so, actually, no, that one was, we had determined beforehand that you were able to kind of design that. I designed
Right.
what Graves looks like now, but the mirror
Right.
you kind of had gone through, it wasn't really, of extreme importance
Yeah.
what they looked like.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So
So,
no one else seen it, so it's a
Mhm.
face for now. Maybe I'll figure it out at some point. But
So, and one thing you would notice that there are sometimes that you see the reflection and sometimes you don't, but you don't know what causes the difference.
Mhm.
Onyx, do you do anything when you see Graves give a start?
I do not.
Okay. Herbert, you
Yeah.
are laying down, you are tossing and turning, you are having all these things kind of racing through your mind, the everything that's happened since you came to Barovia, your near-death experience, and before you know it, you kind of slip from all these anxious thoughts into these anxious dreams. You are laying there in your bedroll, and your eyes open, and you go to look around. But when you go to move your head, you realize you can't move. You're kind of forced staring into the woods in the distance. And you see underneath the shadows of a tree a slightly darker shadow, the figure of a man standing there. As you're looking, you see that it has beady yellow eyes staring directly at you, probably about 50 feet away. You can't move. You can't scream even to warn your comrades. And you just see the glint as it grins, staring at you. And you wake up.
What time do I wake up? Is it the middle of
It's
the night?
middle of the night. And unfortunately, you can't really tell what time it is without, like, you can't see the moon or the stars.
Time is dark.
Yes. Based on your tiredness, you think you've slept a few hours.
Did I recognize anything about the silhouette of this person or figure?
You
Just
do not.
beady yellow eyes.
Yeah, you do not recognize anything, even to the point that you're like, I don't know if this is just something my brain's making up or if it's something else um that is there. But you do glance into the woods and you don't see anything um around.
Yeah. I look and I check to see if Onyx and Graves are still there. I assume
Staring
Uh
at
they're
you.
Just be glad you don't have to do this.
I
I'll try to.
remain motionless and just keep staring at you.
Oh boy, yes. Yes, it's very comforting to know that you're always watching me.
As you
Graves gives
attempt
like
to
no
fall back
notice of
asleep.
you at all. He's maybe if it's after when
Right.
he woke up, Graves is just kind of like looking at the ground, like paying no attention to the fact that you're even talking.
And I do appreciate the fact that you don't talk about how much we all fart.
I don't breathe.
Well,
I don't smell.
no,
He don't care.
it's enviable, to be honest, sometimes.
Now, DM,
Mm-hmm.
how far apart did they wake up?
As far as like
As
where you
I'm
saw
watching,
like
yeah,
Graves like start and then Onyx start.
the Herbert,
It
yes.
wouldn't be or Herbert, yeah. You wouldn't have been like at the same time.
Okay,
Um, Graves would have started much sooner because he was meditating, whereas Herbert was dreaming, so it took him a little longer to get into that state.
okay.
So probably about an hour apart from each other.
Yeah, I'll roll over and I'll try to get back to sleep.
Okay. Aren't you glad we don't have to do like constitution checks to like do you fall asleep on time or do you wake up tired?
Yep.
We're playing a realistic game, guys.
I want gritty realism. Long rest is a week.
Add a plus or add a subtract 2 for anxiety. So
I got 6 hours of sleep. I'm still tired. I got 9 hours of sleep. I'm still tired. I got the recommended 8 hours of sleep. How do you feel? I'm still tired.
Mm-hmm.
got my spell slots up
So
because
I
of
mean,
caffeine.
besides Graves kind of just starting,
Hmm.
and there wasn't a whole lot that I noticed, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Nothing. Onyx just thinks he's weird. I mean,
Okay.
or that, maybe his arm went to sleep because it's chained to a fucking tree.
So, Conerith, you fall asleep. You lay down. It doesn't take you long to fall asleep at all. It was a emotional day. It was a tiring day. And as you fall asleep, you don't normally dream, correct? I believe your character can not be forced to dream or
Yeah, I can dream. That's the sense right there. Immune to magical spells and effects that require you to dream.
got it.
So I do
So
dream. I just can't be forced into a dream.
got it. So you fall asleep and all of a sudden you are in a very familiar location. Um you open your eyes and you see the face of the person that pulled you away from the drow. And it's as if no time has passed at all between when he pulled you out of the clutches of those drow reaching for you, where you had just woken up finding that you had a key. He is pulling you out of there, and you see now that he is light skinned, even lighter than your own, to the point where it's almost glowing. He is tall, has a athletic build. He is wearing what appears to be almost like a loincloth. Little clothing aside, and you see that there's some chains around his ankles. He appears to have been chained near the hole of which he helped pull you out of. You hear the drow below you, screaming in rage. They are attempting to climb up behind where you had just exited.
Was I, not that this matters that much, but um, do I look as I am now, or did I have the appearance of a child
You
when
look
I,
as you are now. This was this vision, as opposed to when you had the dream pastry. This vision, you were as you are now. It was after the death of your mother, and you were chasing the drow into the cavern system. That's where you had become lost and were saved by this mysterious individual who pulled you out, or held his hand out for you to grab to pull you out. Um, you are pretty much coming back to this vision where he is in the process of pulling you out of the hole. He's like, "Are you all right, son?"
can I do an insight check?
Yeah, roll me an insight check. What are you trying to determine?
It's not so much a scrutiny as though like I hate to use this terminology, but almost more like a vibe check.
Yeah.
Like you're just meeting someone for the first time. He did just help me out, so I'm not like so much. It's not a suspicious check. It's more just like, what am I getting from this person? What kind of demeanor do they seem like? Friendly, like trustworthy, or
Mm-hmm.
so? Actually, have a really good insight. That's 22 total.
22. So, um, you are looking at this. He looks like he genuinely was pulling you out of the hole, was trying to help you. You get the sense that he wants something from you, but you aren't entirely sure what it is. Um, and you can't tell if he has his own interest at heart, or your interest, or something else entirely.
And
But you
he
do
is
feel like
chained.
he is chained to the ground. It looks kind of like the manacle that Graves put around himself. It's a single one. One thing that you do notice is that he no longer has the key around his chest that he had originally, the necklace.
Mm.
But you do still feel the weight of the necklace uh, on your neck now.
Well, you saved me once. I see no reason not to trust you. Uh, is there a keyhole on the manacles that are binding him?
You do see a keyhole on there. It is kind of a old-fashioned padlock.
Coderith is going to take the key from around his neck and attempt to use it.
Okay. So you put the key in there, and as you turn it, it unlocks immediately. Um, the person there kind of looks down and he's like, "Thank you." And he looks over the edge of the hole. He's like, "Animals, aren't they?"
Yes. It's not many redeeming qualities to them.
No. What brought you into the caves? What did...
Just trying to find my mother. She was taken by them.
These animals? And he kind of... You see that he kind of kicks like a pebble down. The drow are still kind of congregating near the bottom of it. He kicks a pebble down and he's like, "With these animals, I don't believe that your mother would still be among the living with them. They were the ones that chained me here to starve."
Can't blame a son for trying.
No,
She's all I
But-
have left.
And how far are you willing to go for that?
I honestly don't know.
Hmm. Here. I've been thinking about this for a while. See that boulder over there? And he points, and you see that there is a boulder on the other side of the hole. It's like, I was locked up, so couldn't do it. But I think us two together, we might be able to take some of them back. If you're willing to help.
Take some of them back.
Yes. For what they've done to both of us. Sorry?
I don't know. I don't know if I haven't had the opportunity to make a decision before now. I didn't know how I would face it. I realize I'm still unsure.
That's okay. And he kind of walks around. He's like, you helped me, so I'll help you. Just go with the flow. Sometimes all you need is a little push. And he reaches his hand out and he pushes you in your chest, and you suddenly feel yourself falling as you fall into the hole, the drow grasping at you as you fall in, and you wake up and feel like you fell like a foot off of the ground onto your bed. And you awaken. And we're going to
So
take a
now-
bio break there. And that is where we'll take a 5-minute bio break.
Hey, we'll catch everyone shortly.
Hello and welcome back. We are returning after Conerith is just waking up from a vision, which he had fallen into the hands of the Drow. Conerith, as I said before, I don't know if you guys have ever had this feeling when you wake up in the middle of the night and it feels like you fall like a foot off of
Yeah.
like from bed. I hate that feeling,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much how you wake up, Conerith. Is it feels like you were falling and you land on your bedroll.
So, from Onyx's perspective, he wouldn't have sat up or anything. It would have just been like just a sudden jolt, kind of in his bedroll. First thing Conair does is reaches up to check for the key if he still has it.
You do.
Interesting.
Do you do
How long have I
anything?
been sleeping at this point?
A few hours. This is about probably a half hour to an hour past when Herbert had woken up.
Conair sits up for a moment, not getting out of his bedroll, and looks around and down at the shadow that is being cast from him by the fire. Just stares deeply at it for a moment. And then goes to lie down and go back to sleep.
As you are staring at the your shadow, you do see it like it's matching you sitting there. All of a sudden it kind of shifts around and you see it bring its finger up to its lips and almost like make a shushing motion. And then returns back to
My position.
yes.
Conair just gives a slight nod. It's back down to go to sleep. And Onyx again is just like, oh man, all these guys are weird.
Even the other one that's not
It's-
sleeping is doing weird things.
It's more concerning because this doesn't happen. Usually, if you guys wake up, it's more to get up and piss. This now, all three of you have had a nightmare tonight. So it's Onyx is on alert.
I will be coming back to the board momentarily. And so the rest of the night passes by without additional event. Graves, you stay chained to the the tree with no additional like concern. Like you don't feel the need to pull away or anything of that nature. Just more so a discomfort.
Especially since I pulled so hard on the manacle that I was bleeding.
Hi. So, as far as waking up, what's your guys' morning routine looking like? There is. Okay.
Did Irina have a nightmare?
She did not. She kind of was tossing, turning throughout the night, but you never really noticed her like actively like gain up and um like jumping like the rest of them.
there
Does that kind of
a
answer your question?
Yes. Yep.
is there a water source nearby?
Roll me a survival check.
What's my modifier for that? Ooh, okay. Pretty average. Roll survival is +2. Okay. 12.
With a 12, you're not really able to find like a river or anything like that. You do find a few small springs, but they're kind of enough to fill your waters, but it's sparing and it takes a little bit.
I I would try to gather up some water and heat it up as much as possible, and
Okay.
use prestidigitation to flavor it like coffee.
Ooh, it's a cool use of prestidigitation. Can you heat the water
I,
with?
I can warm it with
Mm,
prestidigitation, but I don't know if that means I can. Well, I mean, I don't know. That I guess that would consider what do you consider warm? Is like
yeah.
hot
Yeah.
cocoa like warm,
You
or
could
is it
also
hot?
just put it over the fire
Yeah,
to get it hot.
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know.
no,
Hot
that's
is
fair.
doable.
Did we actually light a fire? I don't know.
I mean, probably at some point, I imagine.
I
Yeah,
would.
I might have.
I
I
would
think we
assume
usually
so.
would.
Yeah,
So,
no,
Cook
that
some
was the
food and
other thing.
such.
I was like, I could just put it
so
over.
32 to 43 degrees Celsius or 90 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit is considered warm water. Um,
Also, right now, I've been
Other
informed to
people
tell
have it,
you
yeah.
by our good friend Brandon that I have a +15 modifier to my attacks.
well, too bad.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Only
your
he was the
arm
DM.
breaks.
It's
Did you
bloody.
say? Were you asking if there was water nearby, or
Yes. I was looking for water for coffee, or coffee. It's decaf, definitely, because obviously it's not
you didn't
really
find?
coffee. But
He found some
He-
small springs. It just took him a little bit to fill everything.
yeah,
Um, it would take some time, like 10, 15 minutes.
But natural springs, like springing up.
yeah. Like a little.
Yeah. Now, I do need, as you guys are packing up your camp, Herbert, your friend Mirabelle, returns.
Oh, Mirabelle, listen, there's been a lot happening, so I'll get her caught up, and I'll just tell her
Okay.
stories
You
about
start telling her
what
everything
what
that's
happened.
happening. Okay. She kind of like caws and is hopping like on your shoulder and stuff, and um but yeah.
Yeah.
I let's see. I
I
need you
assume
guys to
we.
do. Oh, go ahead.
I assume we benefit from a long rest now, or not yet.
Yes, everyone does benefit from a
Yeah.
long rest.
Is my hit point maximum still reduced or not?
It is not. It is removed.
Okay.
Oh, thank goodness. So let me write down.
There was
I
something
need
that
all of you guys to roll a d20. I need to
oh,
get in the habit of doing this every morning.
oh boy, I don't know if I like that.
8 for Graves.
Same.
Onyx.
Wait.
And
Oh,
Clonareth.
oh, never mind. I rolled a 10.
Nat
Or wait, no,
20
no, I
for
also
whatever this is.
nice.
Okay.
8,
Now,
8, 4, 20.
I have that written so I can use that throughout the day when I need. That was actually a suggestion I heard from just DMing in general. If when your players wake up in the morning, you have them all roll a d20, so that if you need to do a check but you don't want to reveal to them the check's happening, you can
Oh,
use that d20 for it.
Fast
Which I'm
not.
like, it's kind of a cool little concept that I picked up, and so I'm going to try to start doing that.
Sure.
I don't like
So
it.
rather than being like, oh, roll a perception check, oh, you failed, you don't see anything. Like, it's rather than that, or if someone's scrying you, or if someone's trying to track you or something like that.
The only
Oh.
downside is now that we know that we're rolling for a future hidden check, you either feel really good or really bad about what you
Really
rolled.
bad.
Konarith would want to go to one of these springs that Herbert would have found and do a little bit of a wash up right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like his hands and his face, so he would have been taking his gloves off.
Is any it wasn't too far outside of camp. Would you be doing this when everyone's around? Would you just kind of do it on your own?
He wouldn't have asked anyone over, but he wouldn't have shooed anyone away. It would have just been Herbert came back with water. He saw that Herbert found some springs somewhere, so he would have went out to one of them to just wash up.
Is anyone else going for water?
Now I'm chained to a tree.
They didn't untie
No
you
one has
yet?
unchained me.
Did you?
I don't know. I haven't been told
it
I've been unchained, and Grace isn't asking to be unchained. Like
Onyx, like,
in
you
the
brought this
morning.
upon yourself.
I did.
I put the key like in the lock, and I just toy with him a little, and finally unlock it.
Grace just like has like a blank expression the entire time. He's kind of just like dead staring ahead. Even when you unlock him, he just sits there for a few minutes, and after like 3 or 4 minutes, he just kind of like reaches over and just starts like pulling the chain together and like wrapping it back up and such, while still just kind of like staring into the distance.
I kind of like shake his shoulder. Hey, didn't turn into a werewolf. Congrats.
Oh, that's good.
Was that a concern?
I feel like I'd rather be a werewolf than a vampire personally, but I'd still rather be neither.
Oh, that's right. It was a vampire you were worried about. Either way, I mean, you still look as undead as ever.
Oh, why, thank you. That's what everything I strive to be.
Okay, so you guys are kind of packing up camp. You guys do your morning routine. Kanareth, you wash your hands. Herbert, you're able to gather water. Is there anything else you guys are looking at doing before you set out?
I think Herbert is anxious to get started.
No, I'm good.
So, you guys are kind of packing up camp. It's becoming lighter out. I need all of you to roll me perception checks.
Well, that's a 16 for me.
Okay.
7. I liked my roll in.
Oh my word, Conareth with another nat 20.
Ah!
Let's go.
Okay. So, Onyx and Conareth, as you guys are packing up your camp and putting the last of it, you glance down the road the way that you've come. And you see the black carriage on the side of the road, probably about a half mile to a mile back, with a figure setting up, taking down to camp.
The same carriage that Strahd was in, or
The
just
same
some other
carriage.
And it was the way we came from, not the way we're going.
Correct.
It's beyond the gates, isn't it?
Yes. Now, Conareth, You, as you're kind of glancing up, it's kind of down a hill a little bit. You're glancing down there, and you can see a lot better than Onyx can, because with your dark vision, you're able to kind of see a bit more. You can tell that it is Strahd that is this figure, and he kind of glances up at you, and he kind of tips his hand towards you. And you believe that he was well aware of where you guys were.
Great.
He's taking down camp? Like,
Yes, he camped
was
there
just
overnight.
I flick him off.
Oh my god.
And I continue
That's what to do.
getting ready to head out.
Let's see. Okay.
Conerith, because he has the ability of telepathy and to be specific about who is able to hear him, expresses to both Graves and Herbert this information that Strahd seems to be following us, but keeping a distance because there's no reason he couldn't have come right up to our camp in the evening. He makes sure not to share that information with Irene.
Anyone that sees Graves at this point, he just lets out a long, deep, just exasperated sigh.
Irina has
And
no idea the cause of that.
I do the
Even though
exact
it's
same
not-
thing at the exact same time.
Even though he would assume that they would realize this, he would express to them as well. I haven't told Irene, and I'm avoiding doing so because she's in a fragile state.
Graves will just like nod in response, even though like no one's actually looking at him, that he knows what everybody's just kind of.
Irina's just sitting there, like kind of packing her bag, and she's just like
singing a nice song.
all of a sudden, like just Graves and Graves and Herbert are just like in unison.
Like Graves is probably still
yeah.
over like by the tree too, like wrapping the chain
But-
like super slowly.
She's actually kind of you can tell she's kind of reassembling her pack. Anyone that's nearby, you would see that a lot of her belongings are now covered in dye.
Oh.
In there.
Her dye
He was
bottles.
re-dyeing her hair, or her hair dye broke or
Her
something.
hair dye broke.
Yeah, it's not like she's not dyeing her hair, it's the dye is in the bag broken.
That is unfortunate. As someone whose wife was a hairdresser for a few years, hair dye is hard to get out of stuff, man.
Oh, that's a
That's
shame.
rough.
Can I like I'll pick up a piece that may have like fallen to the side or something like that and see if I can cast prestidigitation and clean it.
Yeah, let me look.
Because I can instantaneously clean or soil an object no larger than 1 cubic foot.
You know what? I'll allow it. I'm not even going to look it up. I would allow that. It's not a game busting like to be like, oh, here's the ink's out there. It makes sense for freaking wizards and stuff to have created a simple way to get rid of ink stains. So
They go through so much of it, thousands of
Yeah.
gold worth of.
like it just like it makes sense that they would have ways to clean up that you're bringing it back to the way it was. You're unsoiling it. It's still pretty wet. It's not like been in there for years and hasn't fully dried.
There you go, and I'll just sort of like, wash out her bag of the dye, Um,
Her mood immediately brightens.
just it's you gotta look on the bright side. The little things. Um,
Thank you, Herbert. I think when the wolf knocked me over last night, it must have fallen out my bag and broke it.
oh, yes. No, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I can fix it. Yeah, I can probably fix the thing, whatever's
Mm,
holding it.
I don't know. And she kind of, you can see she was gathering it, and this glass is not so much broken as shattered. It looks like it was on like the outer edge of her pack and
Oh,
landed. So,
glass is
um,
tough.
yeah, with the mending even,
Yeah. No, this would
it would
take
take
this
you
would,
time.
this would probably take
And
a couple hours, maybe.
yes, and given the information that you have just received from Konerith,
Best not to dawdle.
yes, it would likely not be something you'd want to do right
Yeah.
now.
Uh, you know what?
Yes.
I'll
Well,
make you a new
this.
one.
Oh, sorry.
But that's it. I'm just like I'll make you a new one sometime.
Well,
But
this is
we
happening. Konerith.
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Konerith goes over to Graves and Onyx, um, and just says, "I could stick to the back of the group. It's not uncommon for me to kind of keep to myself and try to keep an eye out behind us, make sure that he's consistently keeping a distance. Maybe if he tries to run up on us, I guess, let us all know at that point."
All right.
Yeah, if you wish, that sounds all right to me.
That makes sense.
I actually might have a way to keep track without actually having to look myself, but I'm gonna have to figure that out. So might be a good opportunity to try.
All right, you say if you want to try something out, I have no issues. Certainly go for it.
Very well. Just don't don't get separated from us. Might be hard to tell immediately if we're not in contact.
Oh no, of course not. I won't. I don't plan on being too far away from the group, just in case something actionable happens. So,
Very well. Well, I suppose I'll take the lead. Then he takes a big gulp. Is that wise? I mean, I have a lot of armor.
Well, we're past the gates, so getting closer to Valaki. I think that the old mill on the hill is the next landmark.
All right. Well. Oh yes. Oh, we have some documents regarding this mill.
Documents?
Or was this the same mill, or is this the one that Granny and her sisters had?
Well, it could be the
Uh,
same one.
I think
Oh,
it is the
okay.
one that Granny and her daughters are in.
Uh,
So it's
um.
is that the same one that the Durst family owned? Different
Durst.
the Death House.
Oh,
The family name, you don't know the Durst?
not many people came out of the death house alive. And the Durst family has been dead for centuries.
Well, then likely it was there was a lot. Mills seemed to be very big for them. There was actually a deed to a mill. Um, Possibly the
Oh,
same one, possibly one that no longer exists. Who's
hmm,
to say?
I'm not sure. But yes, the Durst family is or the families that were in the death house, they were killed long ago. I'm not sure exactly what happened to them, but I know that the house was cursed afterwards.
Oh, it was very cursed. Trust me.
But I think they were here before Strahd arrived and died soon after.
Mhm. Honestly, from what we learned in there, that isn't shocking. Actually, I think that kind of makes sense. Cause it's yeah, it almost seemed like he arrived and they thought he was some sort of savior.
Mm.
That sounds about right. I don't.
Well, it's starting to get light. I think it's safe to move.
All right.
So, I guess we'll start marching down the road.
So let's head out.
So, Irina, you said that you are adopted.
Uh, yes, by my uncle.
Um, what if it's a sore subject? I understand. If you don't want to talk about it, people tell me that tragedies can be difficult to talk about. But what happened with your parents?
Um, I'm not entirely sure. I think my father was killed by Strahd or the wolves, or just life in general, and I believe my mother died in childbirth. She was the younger sister of my uncle.
That's how you're related. Your uncle and mother were siblings.
Yes,
Um, what about your father? Do you know much about him?
not much. I know he was. I'm assuming these conversations would be happening while walking.
Hmm.
Yes.
Okay, I want to double check before.
Can I get
Um.
a clarification on that thing that I asked you to, Rena, at
Oh
some point?
yes. Uh, um. Let's see.
Sorry, it's just pertinent at the moment, so I feel.
Mm-hmm. So she would say, I know that he was from the village of Barovia, but I not I don't know if they kind of kept my birth a secret from as much as they could because uh and she kind of is blushing at this point. She's like, I I'm not entirely sure, but sounds like it I might have been a bastard.
Oh,
I'm sorry if you feel that's, a negative thing, obviously. I have, respect for you as a person, even if that were true.
Yes, well, and I I think they just kind of left it that he died and she died and kind of acted like they were married, but my uncle never really wanted to talk about it. And he's gone now, so I can't really. I don't know.
hmm.
It makes sense, by the way. That's how I figured it works. So.
Family is very important. Suppose knowing where you came from does give one purpose, drive one.
Well, My uncle raised me as his own. And my aunt passed away when I was young. And I never really knew my brother. Um, but luckily, Ismark was always there for me.
Ismark, you haven't mentioned him before, have you? Or you
Ismark,
no,
he
you have.
was
He's the brother.
he was the brother
Yeah.
that was
We know
there.
he's Mark.
Oh yeah. Oh, gotcha. Sorry. Yeah, he's the new burgomaster.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Got the name mixed up. Well, I suppose it's good to have siblings. I wouldn't really know, unfortunately, but um, must be comforting.
I messaged you, by the way, Alex.
Oh.
So you know. Um, yes, Ismark, like I said, has always been there for me.
Oh. Yes. But you said you had another brother.
Oh, yeah, I don't even know his name.
Then how do you know you have a brother?
He either he was Ismark's younger brother. He either died or was taken. My uncle was a very private man. He didn't like to voice things. Sometimes I heard about things that happened in the past that were rumors that I remember, and one of the reasons I'm nervous around the Vistani, that there was one time I was in the tavern, the blood on the vine. I think you guys had passed through it.
Yes.
One of the owners there said that she'd take me away like she took away my brother. And when I asked my uncle about it, he didn't really give a clear answer. I don't really know what happened to him. I know he was young, probably less than one, and sounds like the Vistani either killed him or took him.
Why would she say that to you? Were you making her upset?
Um, hmm. I think our mere presence can do that sometimes. You've had some interaction with the Vistani, correct?
Yes. They're an odd bunch.
Yes, and there's different types of Vistani. Some Vistani are like what we ran into in Serpool. They're very friendly. They are welcoming. They drink. They share. But there's others that curse people and are almost as bad as some of Strahd's servants. You have to be careful with the Vistani, because you never know if they're friend or foe, or if they'll curse you if you cross them. Make it that you forget your name, or that you suddenly are right-handed instead of left-handed, or you uh, you can only walk backwards. They're a they used
Whimsical
to.
folk.
Hmm?
They're whimsical folk.
Yes, and
Passionate.
volatile.
We're basically Fae.
Not to be trifled with, clearly.
No, if you can help it, keep your interactions with the Vistani to a minimum. Don't don't go back on your word with the Vistani, for it could end very badly for you.
Understood.
Have you known them to ever break their word?
Hmm. It's an interesting question. They don't really give their word very often. They're very go with the flow type people, and they don't really commit to things. But if they do give their word, they are honest. But just because they say one thing doesn't mean that's how they'll interpret it themselves. So
Oh,
you can
those
never know.
types.
Yes.
Like a lawyer or magistrate.
Hmm.
Heard of these folk who are wizards of the law.
But my uncle tried to avoid working with them as much as possible. But they are part of the town and valley, so we have to work with them some. And they're the only ones that can exit the mist.
They can leave. I mean,
Yes, they can go and they
exit
can
the mist. What is
they can
that?
exit and return.
Wait, dude. Because the mist was like, it was right when we got here. It was there. And it's, if we look around, it's misty, I'm sure, to a certain extent. But,
Yes, I
the
guess they
walls.
can leave the valley. Is I
Uh,
guess how I've heard it described. They can enter where you all came from and can return. But if it's a secret they can share, they guard it jealously. Many have tried to follow them and it does not end well.
Hmm.
they
But
told of a
many of the adventurers that come in here were brought in by the Vistani.
yes, as were we. So
But I'm not sure which Vistani would have brought you in. I will warn you, I do know that Strahd has some servants among them, so
The
he
ones
could
that
have been involved.
the ones that brought us in say that they themselves forbidden from coming back by Madame Eva.
she had bade them to greet us, though, at Madame Eva's behest.
Yes.
I can't speak to that. I do know that uh, I've sat in some lessons that my uncle gave to Ismark, teaching about the people of Barovia. The Vistani respect elders above everything else, And Madame Eva is the eldest of the Vistani. So if she said something, they would follow it without question.
Suppose it's a plausible story. I mean, obviously the logic holds, but is that really why they did that? Well, who asked Madame Eva to do that? Or
I
did anyone?
don't know.
Hmm.
Doubt we ever will.
As you are walking along, probably an hour or two has passed at this point. You're kind of in a winding road. The Svalich Woods has opened up um, a little bit. You see that it's the old Svalich Road is transitioning from being a winding path through the Balanak Mountains to a lazy trail that hugs the mountainside as it descends into a fog-filled valley. In the heart of the valley, you see a walled town near the shores of Great Mountain Lake, its waters dark and still. A branch in the road leads west through a promontory atop, which is perched a dilapidated stone windmill, its warped wooden vanes stripped bare. So you guys are kind of overlooking this wide area. You see a walled city off in the distance, and much closer, a fork in the road leading to the old mill on the hill. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining. We are going to have a little bit of scheduling changes likely coming up. We will not be meeting here in 2 weeks, but we may be meeting on the 4th, but we will keep updated in our Discord.
And until next time.